Okay, this is the second balance I've done. Now, first of all, I have plastic cardboard. I have it set up, and I'll explain what this is in the back. I just got this balance I just want to show it to you. But essentially what I have set up here is a threaded rod that's 3 feet long. I've got a bolt there, and what I did was a nut that I put on there. So you got this long thread rod. I then carefully took this and I knocked off the center piece right here. Okay, and what that allowed me to do was simply to put a bolt on this side, a washer, and then a bolt on the other side and a washer, and I could kind of clamp it between those two. And I put some duct tape on the top so I wouldn't cut myself. Then just with a pair of scissors, I glued some plastic cardboard together, and with a pair of scissors I just made some holes, and those little bolts there are just mainly to make the foundation a bit better. The razor blades there are just glued in with hot glue, so this is all kind of put together with hot glue. And as you can see, as I go back, we now have this to be balanced. And essentially what I'm going to do now is attempt to see if we can get a calculation. But there are basically 2 quarters on this side, and then over here there's 2 nickels on this side. Okay, so you can see I've got 2 nickels, and it's pretty well balanced. And what I'm going to finish this off with is a piece of plastic cardboard that goes back here that'll have a line so you can tell if it's pretty much level, right? So that's just going to add to it. So let's do some calculations and see how it turns out. So here's what I've done on the makeshift scale. Now, first of all, there's a metal rod. Okay, it's a threaded rod. And here on the cardboard, I've got some razor blades that are hot glued to some screws that are just put in some plastic cardboard. And then there's the razor blade on top, and that acts as a pivot point. Now, one thing I've done is I have at the end of the and labeled at the end of the fulcrum a cup with 2 quarters in it. And then what I've done over here is I've systematically added different coins, and I've kept track of it to this metal rod to get it to balance. And I've put little marks of nail polish. Okay, so and they're the big fat ones. They're like the big fat marks as I add more and more, and I've kept track. And so I'm planning to graph the data here in a minute. So if we know the grams on this side, okay, and I know the distance in the grams on this side, we'll see what that looks like on a graph. Okay, let's go ahead and put this to use and see how it works. So here's what I have on this side. I have my 2 quarters. I have them always in the same place on this side. Then I have my fulcrum. There's my pivot point. Then over here, what I have is these markings where I marked the exact number of grams for a certain distance from the fulcrum. And inside here, I have a bunch of candies. Now, I happen to know that each of these candies, these little candies, is about 0.5 grams. And I would like to know how many of these that I have. Well, if I know the grams, I divide 0.5 into that number of grams, I have the number of candies. How do I solve that? Well, I took the data, I took the distance and the mass of each marking, and I simply plotted on a point. The y-axis is the length in centimeters. The x-axis is mass in grams. It turns out that the distance that I have of my candies is just under 25 centimeters. If I go across and go down, it should be pretty close to 5 grams. That should mean I have 10 candies. And if I look inside, lo and behold, I actually have 10 candies. There you go. So proof that yes, we can make our own balance. Sometimes it's a little tricky, but it can work. Good luck. And this is a balance that shows it's a little different because it works through the process called calibration. And this is something we have to do with many balances throughout the year, even though students don't know it, but we actually have someone come in the department to calibrate our balances. For this one, we'll do it each time, but it does work.